It is testament to our commitment to finding solutions. It provides certainty where Brexit creates uncertainty. It protects the rights of our citizens, and it protects peace and stability on the island of Ireland. There will be no border on the island of Ireland, and the single market will be protected. The deal is not about us. The deal is about people and peace. And I look forward to continue my conversations with Boris, because we'll start the negotiations on the future relations immediately after the deal will have been approved. We'll start our debates on the 1st of November without interruption. Tonight, together with Michel Barnier, I will explain the deal to the heads of state and government. And of course, it is for both our parliaments to have the final say. It's not only Westminster having to approve the deal being in fact the treaty. It's also up to the European Parliament to do the same. So thank you, Boris, for, I have to say, excellent relations we had throughout the last weeks.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you, Jean-Claude. And can I pay a particular tribute to you, Jean-Claude, and also, of course, to Michel Barnier and all your team, Michel, in the negotiating team in the Commission. And I do think that this deal represents a very good deal, both for the EU and for the UK. And it's a reasonable, fair outcome and reflects the large amount of work that's been undertaken by both sides. And I agree very much, Jean-Claude, with what you said about protecting the peace process in the island of Ireland and in Northern Ireland. And of course, for us in the UK, it means that we can deliver a real Brexit that achieves our objectives. And it means that the UK leaves whole and entire on October the 31st, and it means that Northern Ireland and every other part of the UK can take part not just in free trade deals, offering our tariffs, exporting our goods around the world, but it also means that we can take together as a single, united kingdom, decisions about our future, about our laws, our borders, our money, and how we want to run the UK. And those decisions will be taken in the UK by elected representatives of the people of the UK. And I hope very much now, speaking of elected representatives, that my fellow MPs in Westminster do now come together to get Brexit done, to get this excellent deal over the line, and to deliver Brexit without any more delay, so that we can focus on the priorities of the British people, improving our health service, investing in 20,000 more police, lifting up the living wage, and many, many other things. And Jean-Claude, I just want to conclude by agreeing wholeheartedly with your final point. Now is the moment for us to get Brexit done, and then together to work on building our future partnership, which I think can be incredibly positive, both for the UK and for the EU. And I just remind you what I always say, that we are a quintessential European country, solid European friends, neighbours, and supporters. And we look forward to working with you in building that partnership in the weeks and months to come. Thank you all very much. Jean-Claude's the boss here.
Yeah, I have to say that I'm happy about the deal, but I'm sad about Brexit. Have a good time.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we heard just there from Jean-Claude Juncker, the European Commission President, and British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Jean-Claude Juncker saying about this new deal that where there was uncertainty, there is now certainty, and Boris Johnson saying it is a good deal for all, reasonable and fair. Let's go to Laurence Lee now, who joins us live from Brussels. Just listening to that, Laurence, obviously a lot of optimism, but we've seen this type of deal before and it has faltered. Where do things sit right now in your assessment?
Well, I mean, clearly it does work for both sides, and that's the difference between this one and the backstop, because the backstop was perfectly fine, Theresa May's deal, for the European Union, but it was completely unacceptable to large parts of the Conservative Party because they felt it was a betrayal of Brexit because it kept the UK in an open-ended relationship, a trade relationship with the European Union. So it's good for the European Union because it protects the integrity of Ireland in the sphere of the peace, because it maintains the Good Friday Agreement, and in the sphere of protecting the single market because there's no customs checks on the island of Ireland. Equally, as you heard Boris Johnson say there, in his assessment, it's good for the UK because in one sense it does allow the whole of the UK, including Northern Ireland, to withdraw from the European Union's trading arrangements because they put the trade border as effects goods in the middle of the Irish Sea. So both sides, in that sense, can tick it off. Juncker made a big point of saying it's not just Westminster that has to agree to this, it's the European Parliament. I don't suppose the European Parliament is going to have a particular issue with it. The issue with it, plainly, is going to be the UK Parliament, which seems to be able to have it in its will to reject every single deal offered to it while agreeing to absolutely nothing. And it is perilously tight for Boris Johnson. The Democratic Unionists, as you know, in Northern Ireland hate it. The crucial point, I think, is going to be whether the hardcore Brexiters in the Conservative Party stay in line with the Democratic Unionists and refuse it, which is what they usually do, or whether they actually back down because they think this could be the very last chance they ever have to get a Brexit deal done. Because if it doesn't happen this time, there's every chance, frankly, of either a general election or even another referendum, which could overturn the entire thing.
Laurence, I just want to drill down a little bit more into the Democratic Unionists' position. And you've talked there about this compromise around Ireland and maintaining the integrity of Ireland and coming up with this deal with Northern Ireland, where it remains part of UK customs, but also is aligned to EU procedures as well. Take us to the point of conjecture, the issue that the Democratic Unionists have with this compromise.
The really, really impossible thing for outsiders to understand about the Democratic Unionist Party in Northern Ireland is that it cares far less about things to do with money and trade than it does about the concept of unionism. The absolute imperative from their points of view that Northern Ireland remains a part of the UK. Right? It's 100 years ago yesterday that the UK started partitioning Ireland, putting the border in between the north and the south. And the whole point of partition from the UK's side was to protect the Protestant majority, the Unionist Protestant majority of Northern Ireland. And that's what the DUP stands for. Any idea that the Northern Irish economy could be more aligned with that of the European Union through the single market than the UK is, in their estimation, an entire betrayal of the idea of unionism, because they think it's a little tiny edge towards a united Ireland, which is political death for them. So they would the whole point of their existence is to protect the idea of the union. And if they see anything getting in the way of that, they will object to it on principle. And that's what they're continuing to do now. And Theresa May paid them off with over £1 billion to support her government. There's lots of talk about the Boris Johnson's government trying to pay them off as well. I'm not entirely convinced that it's about money for them, to be honest.
And just on that point about the political negotiations, where's the negotiating room for Boris Johnson here? Are the Democratic Unionists saying, that's it, we oppose this outright? Is there the potential for inducements, as you say, as Theresa May was also able to offer? And then there are those who are aligned within Boris Johnson's own party, aligned with the Democratic Unionists. Are they going to stay strong as well? How does the political wrangling, what does that look like from now?
Well, I mean, you're talking obviously about the situation inside the Westminster Parliament. If Boris Johnson is going to get this deal through, because he's got a minority government of -45 at the moment, he's got to get the Democratic Unionist Party on side. He's got to get both wings of the Conservative Party on side. That's the whole of the right-wing hard Brexit bloc. And the 21 moderate, soft Conservative MPs who he sacked for not backing his deal. They think this is a much worse deal than Theresa May's. He's got to get all of them to support it. And if he can't get all of them to support it, he's got to turn to Labour Party MPs on the opposition benches and say to them, look, how about you do this? Because you represent constituencies that voted leave. Surely this is a much better deal than no deal. So why don't you back us instead? So it's perilously close. And there's certainly one estimation I've seen of an electoral mapping company that says that he's going to lose by about 17 or 18 votes on Saturday. So something's got to shift between now and then if he's going to get this through.